I don't normally make this kind of content, but I just wanted to be transparent and a little vulnerable with you. But before this documentary, my husband and I, we felt safe. Now that this documentary is out, we feel like our lives have been put in danger.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back, or welcome if you're new. My name is Erin, and I am fascinated by all things cults, true crime, and unique spiritual practices, and really just human behavior in general. I post 2 to 3 videos a week on one of these topics, so if you like this sort of thing, please consider subscribing. I would absolutely love to have you here. I also have a Patreon that I will link down below, and I am sponsoring teachers this summer. If you're a teacher and you need a little financial help to get all of the supplies you need for your classroom going into the fall, I need you to create an Amazon wish list and email it to me with a little description about yourself at letfresherin@gmail.com. And then I will be able to feature your Amazon wish list and your story in one of my future videos. Today, we are once again talking about 7M and Miranda Derrick because the public reaction to this particular cult and situation has been incredibly disheartening. And I just want to keep talking about it because we have people victim shaming and victim blaming. We have people mad at her parents and indicating that her parents are the ones who have kind of made things worse. So today I want to first share Miranda's reaction and her kind of plea asking people to just leave her alone, basically. She has limited comments on almost all of her videos on TikTok and Instagram because she was getting so many derogatory and inappropriate comments. And I want to share some advice from cult experts in this video as to what's really going on, what the psychology of Miranda looks like from people who were actually in cults, and how to help get her out, and kind of discuss whether or not, or perhaps why, this docuseries might have done more harm than good in the short term. But I want to preface that by saying I really have hope, and I am optimistic that in the long term, Miranda will be reunited with her family in a healthy way and will escape this group. I just want to be very optimistic about that. But a lot of damage can be done if she stays in the group. And it sounds like right now she has been the example of what happens if you don't fully cut off your family. And it sounds like Robert is really taking advantage of her situation, pulling the strings with all of the other current cult members, and really speaking for Miranda, and it would appear dictating what her responses are. So first, let's take a look at Miranda's response.
I don't normally make this kind of content, but I just wanted to be transparent and a little vulnerable with you. But before this documentary, my husband and I, we felt safe. Now that this documentary is out, we feel like our lives have been put in danger. We have both been followed in our cars. We have received hate mail, death threats. People have been sending us messages to commit. We've been stalked. Someone said that if I see you on the street, I'm going to come and gut you, so you better get security. Someone also said that if I see you walking on the sidewalk, I'm going to come and shove you in the trunk of my car. So these are just some of the messages that I've been receiving behind the scenes. And I honestly don't understand how my parents and my sister thought that this documentary would help me or would help our relationship in any way. I don't understand that. And I have been getting together with my family for the past couple years privately to work on our relationship, to make things right, to mend what has been broken. And I've been loving it. I've been loving getting together, laughing, just enjoying each other's company. And this documentary has made it very difficult to continue doing that. And honestly, I think that my parents and my sister have focused so much on this documentary that they've forgotten about working on any relationship with me. And that hurts. That hurts me to say. And I'm going to be perfectly honest, it has been hard to post and do my content like nothing ever happened, because that's just not the case. So if things are a little slower and I'm not posting as much, just bear with me. I'm getting through this. I see the light at the end of the tunnel, and I'm going to get back to posting and dancing and doing what I just absolutely love. It just brings me so much joy. So I do want to get back to that. And I want to thank everyone who has been very supportive for the kind messages, DMs, emails. They don't go unnoticed. So thank you guys very much. And thank you for taking the time to listen. Love you guys. Bye.
This video is incredibly heartbreaking to me because although I know some people are probably well-intentioned, especially when they say, if I see you on the street, I'm going to snatch you up. I want to believe, I'm hoping that that comment was not necessarily malicious, but more of, if I see you on the street, I'm going to basically kidnap you and bring you back to your parents and get you safe and help you escape this cult. But then there are also people making those violent threats to her, and that has to be horrifying. I mean, she is a public figure. She already had millions of subscribers on Instagram, and she has more eyes on her who probably had no idea who she was to begin with, thanks to the Netflix docuseries. And hearing that people are making these violent threats to her is so disheartening, because it just goes to show that we really do not understand as a whole the cult dynamic. And in order to shed some light on this, I want to share some reactions from previous cult members, especially as it pertains to Miranda. On the Exposing 7M Instagram, we got a beautiful story from an ex-member who I believe is remaining anonymous, explaining the dynamic within the group and Miranda's part that she's unwittingly and unknowingly playing in the group. So the photo says, a former Shekinah member wants to give you some perspective, and shares pictures of Miranda playing with, I'm assuming, one of Robert's children, with who I'm assuming is a wife, at the beach. The text reads, this explanation of dynamics in Miranda's treatment is being posted so you can understand Miranda's actions and not respond to her with hate. Here is the direct quote from the former member. It's really hard to explain all their tactics. I just want to give insight so they don't judge Miranda. She's doing what they're instructing her to do. Other mentees under Hannah that are not TikTok influencers and are much older than Miranda have been scolded and yelled at like dogs in front of other members. I witnessed that. And I am sure Miranda might want to think she has freedom in there, but she is not free. She's just being controlled by her faith. I was present when Robert would make an example of Miranda during sermons around the time her parents and sister were creating noise about the cult. And Robert would say during sermons, this attack from Miranda's parents is a spiritual attack because Miranda has not died to her parents. She still thinks of them, so she's not fully submitted. He's implying that she's not allowed to even consider the well-being of her parents, think about them, miss them, come to tears because of how much pain she's in by this separation. Robert is saying that Miranda's not fully committed to his cause because she hasn't been able to fully commit. And he's probably angry at Miranda because without her, there wouldn't be so many critical eyes on the group. But in order to save face and protect the group, he had to let Miranda begin to interact with the family again. And we saw this footage in the Netflix docuseries, but we also see the footage in posts on the internet. Yes, Miranda has spent time with her family over the last couple of years, but it is all on Robert's terms. And it is all posted. It's contrived almost. Even some of the footage we saw in the docuseries, it was very, very obvious that Miranda was trying to show her audience, and Robert most likely, oh, we have a happy family. Everything is fine. We love our family. But why would you need to so obviously share that you're close with your family if you didn't have somebody pulling the strings and dictating all of that? I know for me, when I go home for the holidays or visit my family, I don't have my phone out all the time to be like, hey guys, see, we're a happy family. So it is my belief that Robert encouraged Miranda to spend time with her family as it was expected by her family. And then he instructed her to post videos and photos and make sure that it looks like they are happy, because he's not a cult. He gives her freedom. She is free to go visit her family. It's not a big deal. Everybody needs to calm down. He probably doesn't allow other members of his church to do this because they are not as famous as her. He wants famous TikTokers in his group. He wants eyes on his group. He wants to make the money that those influencers are bringing in. But with his other followers, we don't see them happily posting all smiley with their family because most likely they've been cut off. And they're not allowed to because they are not as big fame-wise as Miranda. And their families didn't publicly expose the group to millions of people. Robert would say during sermons, this attack from Miranda's parents is a spiritual attack because Miranda has not died to her parents. She still thinks of them, so she's not fully submitted. Then Hannah, Robert's wife, in women's Bible studies, would make us do warrior prayers for an hour to fight these spiritual attacks from Miranda's parents against Robert. And if we didn't pray loud enough, she'd make us stop, yell at us, and start over. Once you do what they ask and submit more by dying to your loved ones, they reward you with a privilege coming from the man of God, being Robert. Like, good, you submitted, so now you're blessed to move to this new house. Or you get to go on a trip here as this new blessing for your submission. So if you're submitting to what Robert wants you to do, now you are in his good graces. You get to move into this mansion. You get to go on this trip. He will probably get you more brand deals and put you in more videos, get you more money and him more money. One day she'll be free and she'll need all the love and support from everyone, not hate. We're going to hear from Sarah Edmonson in a second because she did a fantastic interview recently. But I want to reiterate again, as I said in my previous video, that all of this public hate and backlash is pushing Miranda into this cult more deeply, because now Robert has an example to show her of, do you see how hateful your parents are? Do you see how hateful all these people who aren't following God or aren't in Shekinah are? They are all misguided. They are all the enemy. It further supports the us versus them mentality. And so Robert is able to show Miranda, like, let's put it this way. In the beginning, his tactic was probably like, well, and we've heard this from the docuseries, well, you need to cut off your family so you can focus on your faith so that you can save them. Because if they don't practice Christianity in this way, in my way, they might not be saved. So you have to have a death of self so that you can detach from everything worldly, detach from your family, and find salvation. But now he's saying, do you see how evil your family is? Your family is going to go to hell. Don't you see how their behavior is bad? Don't you read all these hateful, threatening comments? Obviously, what you're doing is right. Aren't I protecting you? Aren't I keeping you safe? Aren't I bringing you opportunities? And she's going to start seeing the evidence of that. Oh, yeah, you're right. Like, people are mean on social media. Why would my family do all this? And it is absolutely frustrating and heartbreaking to see that people don't understand that by verbally abusing her and threatening her, you're only making her life more risked. It's only going to be worse off for her. She's only going to believe what Robert says more. What we need to be doing is saying, hey, I just hope that you are okay, or we support the decision that you make, because no stranger on the internet is going to convince Miranda to get out of a cult. That is simply not how it works. And I'm going to be sharing a video on Sunday that's all about how to get your family members out of a cult and give you guys some kind of resource or tool so that you can watch it. It'll be nice and comprehensive. It'll be easy to understand. And please watch my videos about how people get into groups like this, because it's not just stupid people who are desperate. It's people that are seeking community, who are incredibly talented, who might not be connected to their family as much, but are very intelligent, can serve the group in some way, can serve Robert in some way. So to imply that all these young people were, oh, they were just stupid and desperate to be famous, no, that's inappropriate. This is like, I want this video to be educational, but it's a public letter to everyone who's following this story to just be kinder to her. Do the type of activism that can actually make a change. I'm going to share a change.org petition that is asking the LAPD to take this seriously, because they've dismissed the SA allegations that we saw a few of the ex-members go to and report. Those have been dismissed. The current litigation is more of a defamation lawsuit, and most likely Miranda has to be very, very careful about what she says so that she doesn't put her foot in her mouth and make Robert look more guilty. There is a reason that he hasn't spoken out. There is a reason that he's staying under the radar. It's a tactic called the flying monkeys, where the witch, like in Wizard of Oz, gets to sit back up in the castle or in their lair and watch the chaos, but the flying monkeys go attack, 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 attack. Miranda right now is a flying monkey. She is the face of the cult at this point. So if he can get her followers to believe that this group is not dangerous, that she's fine, she's happy, and beg them to leave her alone, then she's more likely to stay in the group A, and he is less likely to have to take the fault for anything. This is what every single cult leader does. They literally try to create a group around them who take the fall for all of the bad decisions. And they have press representatives, they have spokespeople, they have every person in Shekinah has their own mentor. So they don't even necessarily have access to the leader. And on that note, I want to share a video that speaks to that point exactly.
There's still stuff coming out. Yes, we were doing research to see who we're being represented by. And we also wanted other people to understand. We wanted to get everybody on one accord as far as the dancers, because these are people who we know. You know what I mean? So I personally wanted to talk to the pastor. I never got a conversation, you know what I mean, from this pastor. All I wanted to do was ask him, hey, man, are you still doing these allegations? I need to look further into this for the sake of me and my wife. You know what I mean? It's women involved, and my wife is around.
So the caption on this recording says, "This is a voice recording that Kevin, aka Concrete, sent to me. He was explaining how he left Shekinah Church. There's more to the story, but I just want to point out the fact that what Kevin is saying is a huge deal. Why would Robert not speak to his own member about the accused allegations? Why is it that Robert was telling him yes and no to the allegations? It makes no sense. If you're so innocent, Robert, then why won't you speak up? You go on and on about how you are the man of God in your sermons, but you don't have anything to say now. Instead of taking accountability for your actions, you are smearing Miranda's image by having her create this false narrative. There are still 20 plus people left in this church, and they need to leave the alleged abuse of Robert Shin. I give a lot of kudos to Concrete and Kalia for standing firm in their beliefs. Concrete did not want his wife in a sketchy situation, and that says a lot about him as a person. We are proud of y'all, and thank you for standing up." That's another point I want to make in this video. I mentioned it briefly in my previous one, but we have to remember that B Dash got Miranda into this group. He introduced her to Robert as someone that he trusted. Now they are married. They're romantically involved. They're in love. So Miranda has no one outside the group that she can talk to. She's not allowed to have a real conversation with her parents. They have a reporting policy in place, which means even if she went to her mentor with questions about Robert and what he's doing, she would be reported to Robert and get reprimanded for it. So also when she goes home and if she asks questions to B Dash, if he already believes in the group, he is not going to leave. I mean, we saw this in the NXIVM docuseries with Mark and Bonnie. Bonnie got out before Mark. He was not quite there. She was like, I have to go. I have to go. And even he doubted his own wife. And they didn't reconcile until he was able to escape NXIVM too. So we have to start understanding that when we look at this, it is very typical cult and it is a very, very dangerous one. As most of you know who have been following me for a while, I'm a massive fan of Sarah Edmonson. It would be a dream come true to have her speak on this channel. If I could ever interview her, I mean, I'm just going to throw that out there and maybe it will happen. But she did an interview recently and it was really validating for me because I was like, okay, I am on the right track with my analysis of this particular group. But coming from her, I mean, she's one of the experts. She's the whistleblower of NXIVM. She really, really understands the dynamic. So I just want to play her short interview for you here.
My next guest says it's entirely possible that Miranda Derrick doesn't even realize that she's in a cult. Sarah Edmonson should know. She is an ex-member of the NXIVM cult, and she's the author of the book Scarred, the true story of how I escaped NXIVM, the cult that bound my life. She is also the host of the podcast A Little Bit Culty, and she joins me now live. Sarah, it's really good to see you. We just had a chance to see each other at CrimeCon. It's good to, it's good to be able to interview you about this topic. It's like so near and dear to your heart. I just wanted to get your take on what you're seeing here.
Sure. Thanks for having me on, Ashley. You know, we've had this cult on our radar since a few years now, since I actually think since Melanie first went public with her live stream. And it certainly ticked all the boxes for me from day one. But one of the things I really wanted to share with your audience and anyone who might be wanting to reach out to Miranda is that when you're in a cult, you really don't think you're in a cult. And we don't even have to use the word cult, especially for her. I would even say like a high control group or high control religion. She's in a situation that for her, she's doubled down in that she believes is something really good.
That's exactly what I mean. I think that Sarah articulated it far better than I ever could. But that is exactly the point I'm trying to make here in this video. She believes it's something good. And when she sees such negative, I'll put it to you like this. Since I create content, there are days that I'm really hesitant to read comments because people make ad hominem attacks, people who are in the cult I'm featuring get angry, or people just don't like the way I'm doing things. And it does make you feel this sense of separation from the audience, from you. I feel like it's easy to get scared. It's easy to get fearful to post. And luckily, I have my fiance to lean on who supports me in all of this. Now, substitute my fiance for a cult. Miranda is currently going through this process of she doesn't want to hear your comments. She doesn't want to see them. She doesn't want to know the backlash. She doesn't want to hear the criticisms. So now she's clinging to the only source of support that she currently has, which is Robert, her husband, and this cult. Like we read earlier, she is probably also being made an example of, which creates this dynamic where now she is even on a lower pedestal in the group. She was the glowing, bright child that was bringing more and more people to the cause. But now Robert's disappointed with her and her parents. So she has to work harder to be in his good graces. And it creates this dynamic where he can constantly like put her down. I don't mean to make it look like I'm doing hand puppets. Visually, for me, it helps. He's able to put her down. And then she has to keep trying to get in his good graces. And then something online happens and he can put her down again. Oh, well, you shouldn't have seen your family. You knew your family was doing this. You knew your family was dangerous and you still had to see them. So she's going to do everything she can to make sure she's in his good graces. And he is also probably playing this nurturing role now because she has nobody else. She only has this group. The only people giving her positive reinforcement are people in this group.
And unfortunately, that type of negative response from the world from this documentary is only going to push her in further, which is my concern.
Do you see, yeah, I was going to ask if you see some parallels to yourself, your own situation and where you were with NXIVM.
Absolutely. In fact, it was so parallel in terms of especially the hook that these dancers were given. And I thought the Netflix documentary did do a great job of showing what the appeal would be. I'm personally not a religious person, and the church part wouldn't be a pull, but this type of community with like-minded dancers and making content, especially if you're a sort of typical starving artist in Los Angeles, or even, finding money for rent is hard. That's all provided. And somebody who's going to help you manage your career, all of those things would be an incredible draw. So I totally get that. And then some of the things that have happened, apparently from the doc behind closed doors, being isolated from friends and family, being instructed to tell on each other if you don't follow the rules. The sort of us versus them mentality of like, it's us and this is the right path. And of course we weren't religious, but we were very righteous and kind of like evangelical personal development pushers. And I feel like this type of connection to Jesus isn't actually that clean. It's connection to Robert, who's saying he's got the connection to God and Jesus, which is a total red flag for me. Anyone who says that they are talking to God and Jesus, run.
I've always felt that anybody who says that they've had personal conversations, that's a hell of a red flag. Pardon the pun. But listen, the idea that Robert Shin might be behind Miranda's latest posts, hate mail and blaming families, etc. Do you think that's blaming the families? I think she's blaming the trolls for sure. But what do you make of that? Do you think that's a possibility?
There's no doubt in my mind. I mean, there probably are some trolls and people saying hateful things who don't understand how cults work. And I would also not be surprised if he had some other people go online and create fake accounts just to say threatening things to scare her. The goal of the cult leader is to keep people dependent and keep people in. So if he can create a fear of the outside world, that's great for him. And this just plays into the fact that he's making her feel like a victim, even though she says she's not a victim. And now she's a victim to the family. So this back to the us versus them structure that all cults thrive on.
Well, and to the haters too, right? I think it was India Oxenberg, your fellow NXIVM cult member, who came out publicly and said that the public really needs to sympathize and love her, not hate her, because like you just said, it will push her further to those who she's close to and can explain away with love bombing.
Absolutely. The more hate and vitriol she gets from the outside world, the further that she's going to want to go into Shekinah and to 7M and feel vindicated that Robert's right. It's not safe out there. So I really encourage people to be loving, send lifelines, send messages. And also, one of the things that helped me wake up, obviously way too late after 12 years, but was kind people asking curious questions and planting seeds and saying things like, but what about all this media that is against Keith? And I would say, well, that's a smear campaign. And somebody said to me, but it can't be all a smear campaign. What if a little bit of it is true? And that, I didn't wake up then, but it planted a seed for me to think, okay, what if even 10% of what people say about Keith Raniere is true? Then that's a problem for me.
That's a fantastic point too. He understands this. He understands that if Miranda's getting public hate, she's going to need to lean on whoever is supporting her. And in her case right now, it would be the cult. Thank you, Sarah, for just articulating that so concisely for people to hear. I really, really hope that people can hear it. I want to talk a little bit about Miranda's family because they've been getting a lot of backlash too. And I don't want to say both sides because I don't see the cult side, but I can understand how publicly calling something a cult only pushed Miranda further into that cult. However, the cult and current members were asked for a response. So this whole narrative of like, well, B-Dash and his brother should have their own docuseries and the documentary was one-sided, it was biased. Okay, well then why didn't you comment? Why didn't you share your side, Robert? Why didn't anyone in the cult talk to the media? Is it because you're not allowed to? You were asked to make a comment and you refused to make one. So, in response to Miranda sharing that she was being physically and violently threatened, Melanie, her sister, decided to make a comment, and she spoke with People magazine regarding this. She said, "Of course, we never wanted any sort of violence to come her way, and I'm very sorry that she's experienced that because our only intent was to save her from an unsafe environment and to give her love and know that we're here to support her." I think that their intention was genuine. I think they thought that if enough people tried to get Miranda to kind of see the light and get out of this group, I think they really believed that they could save their sister. They could save their daughter. I don't think they anticipated this reaction. Melanie says that listening to Miranda's videos about the docuseries saddens her. She's been under his control for over 3 years. And so the person that's sitting in front of her camera and making these posts, that's not my true sister. I know that this is from the church and from Robert. She's so loving and kind and loved our family. And so for her to point fingers at us, it's just not her true self. And I think that that's exactly what Robert is encouraging her to do. I think she's feeling victimized by her family, and Robert is kind of like pouring gasoline on that fire, or perhaps he's even preaching about the dangers of the outside. It's making everyone in the group believe more and more deeply that Robert's way is the way. Just a few years ago, Wilking shared a joint social media account with Miranda called the Wilking Sisters and joined her at the Shekinah Church. However, it didn't take long for Wilking to recognize something wasn't right. "I think the difference is I didn't have a significant other in the group," she explained. "James, Miranda's boyfriend at the time, was extremely involved. So therefore, in order for my sister to see him, she would have to also be going to these services and dinners. I didn't have that. So I was kind of disconnected in a way and was able to listen to outside influences a little more, confirming the red flags that I was seeing." And in a podcast I listened to, who featured one of the producers of the Netflix docuseries, they shared that the Wilking family was one of the last to come on board to do this. And it wasn't just their story that was shared. Their story was heavily featured in just the very first episode. And people online have been wondering, did Miranda even watch the rest of the docuseries and see the impact that Robert has had on people, particularly women, the negative impact he's had on them for decades? What if she didn't even see the entire thing and watch the pain? I mean, you just felt the pain from the Lee sisters when you watched. Wilking goes on and says, "Her parents' participation in the docuseries came with risks. To have a genuine relationship again with my sister, I knew we had to continue to speak out. I care more about her safety and her well-being, and so doing the documentary meant that we could progress that in a positive direction instead of just pretending like things weren't happening when we know the truth about the organization that she's a part of. We couldn't just be bystanders." Responding to her sister's claim that my parents and sister have focused so much on this documentary that they have forgotten about working on any relationship with me, Wilking says she believes is a tactic from Shin and the church. "I think from her statement, it's very clear that she did not watch the documentary, because if she did, she would know that it's so much bigger than just our family situation, and it goes deeper. 25 plus years of Robert controlling these people." Wilking elaborates, "Of course, we want a relationship with my sister. That's why we did this from the start. But once we started to learn about other people, it was also that we did not want other people to fall victim to this group. And we knew we needed to use our voices and share this. All the steps that we've taken trying to resolve it quietly for a year, then going live and having all of these dancers and members leave because we used our voice, all of these things have resulted in positive outcomes. So I have to believe that my gut and intuition has been correct," Wilking adds. And I applaud her. I 100% agree with her. And hearing this from her really solidifies for me that she made the best decision that she could with all of the information that she had. And I'm sorry, but Netflix is a huge platform. And if you have a family member who is in danger and Netflix comes to you and says, Will you share your story here? We will reach millions of people, double digits of millions of people. Then it would behoove you to do it. You might feel silly if you don't do it. And so I feel for her family so much. And it wouldn't surprise me if Robert's using a tactic to try to get fake troll accounts to send more harmful messages to Miranda. Plus, we learned in the last episode last Friday that he has all of the passwords to Miranda's internet accounts, all of her social media accounts, allegedly. He's pulling the strings. And the sooner we can understand that and understand that dynamic, the better. So if you want to learn more about this group, please go follow Exposing 7M. They are so diligent. They share other survivors' stories. They are really doing their best to get the word out there. And also, I will share that change petition. Please sign it, because this cult will never really be shut down unless criminal, not just civil, but criminal charges are brought against Robert. It is a very Jeffrey Epstein situation with the massages that require a happy ending. And it's something that's really difficult to prove, but at some point we have to start believing victims and survivors of dangerous people like this. So with all of that, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it brought more understanding to the situation and the reactions, and I know it did for me. And I just want to leave you with a message that I hope you will hear from a compassionate point of view is, if you've watched this all go down and you've seen how desperate Melanie and the Wilking family is, and you see Miranda and you see all the evidence in the Netflix show, and you still either don't understand how people become victims of cults or survivors of cults, or you judge those people and you don't care to learn how to understand how it happens, you are the most likely person to get sucked in yourself. So I hope that you take a moment to try to be a little bit more compassionate and understanding of what these victims have and will continue to go through until these groups are shut down, so that you can also protect yourself and those that you love. So stay tuned for Sunday's video. I'll be sharing a whole resource on what to do if your family member or someone you love is in a cult. It will be totally comprehensive, and I hope that you will enjoy it. And please remember to share with me your Amazon wish list if you are a teacher who wants a little extra help this year. And let me know what you thought about this video. Let me know what you think about this situation. And thank you guys so much for tuning in today. I really appreciate your support, not just the support you've given me on this video, the support you've given me on my previous ones. This month has been amazing, and I'm really grateful to hear all of your feedback so that I can make this channel the best that it can be. So with all of that, I want to say thank you once again. Stay safe out there, ask questions, and always stay skeptical. I will see you later this weekend. Have a wonderful day. Bye.